There it is. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cluster API Azure, our weekly office hours meeting. It's April 4th, 2024. We are a subproject of SIG Cluster Lifecycle under the Kubernetes umbrella, which we request that people abide by the general Kubernetes community rules of conduct, which I'm sure you know boils down to let's not talk over each other and try not to interrupt, use the raise hand feature, and try and make this a welcoming environment. If you would like to add your name to the attendees list up above, please do so. Here's the place in the meeting where we usually welcome new members, but I'm pretty sure we don't have any today, so I'm going to skip that part. We can move on to open discussion. David, do you want to talk about this old issue from Ashutosh?
Yeah.
PR?
Yes. Yeah. It's been open for a really long time, and I wanted to try and get input from the team on like what we think are next steps. Because I mean, I think it's already was in line there saying like, hey, somebody wants to take this over, great. Because I think it'd be good to know, is it useful code we think we want to try and get merged or not? If we think it's useful, then we probably need to get someone to take it over to kind of get it across the finish line. We kind of keep pushing this back and back and back. I know it's not going to solve all the problems here, but yeah, that's the point I wanted to bring up to see if Matt or John or anyone has any thoughts on if we want to, what we want to do here.
It took me that long to find the raise hand thing. I swear to God. Sorry. I haven't looked at this in a long time, but at one point when Cecile was still here, I had the intention of taking this over from Ashutosh, but I don't really remember now. There's definitely some valuable things in here in terms of documentation and stuff. So, I mean, I'd be willing to just assign it to myself and either finish it or determine that we don't really need it. I think I will have the bandwidth in the next month or so to deal with this.
Okay.
Well, unless.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah,
if you want to, I'll just.
Yeah, sure. That's cool.
Put it on my stack.
Sweet.
Okay. Because he did a lot of good work here, and we weren't supporting him steadily the whole time. So I think it'd be great if we did finish this.
Yeah, I mean,
or
I think
I
think it does help move things in the right direction. Is my gut and from what I'm seeing there, but you know, yeah.
Also, I still don't have workload identity set up correctly locally, so that would probably be a good exercise. I still do AZWI false when I run tests locally, so
Forcing function there.
Yeah. So I feel guilty about that. So okay. Unless there's anything else on that, let's move on to auth issue. Oh no, wait, this is different. Creating an AKS cluster with uppercase. Oh yes.
So this one is one we had somebody internally report to us. That was a little surprising to me, but then I also personally hit it myself when I was trying to provision extensions that had an uppercase name, and I was actually surprised by that. So I think, unless I'm wrong here, there's nothing documented that this is not supported, and we're not doing anything to really handle this scenario. So it seems like a not ideal user experience. To not allow them to do an uppercase letter. And I think I'm pretty sure this is a byproduct of the ASO, like ASO enforcing this. But go ahead, John.
Yeah, I think this is a fairly obvious bug with an obvious fix. So I don't know if there's anything super controversial about what we would do here.
Yeah, it seems like to me, it's just like, okay, we should handle this use case and just convert it to lowercase and maybe give an informational message or something like, hey, we we had to convert your uppercase to whatever, and then, did that. And it's, yeah. But okay. I think it does, I think, punt back when you do the initial cluster, but if it's something like an extension, then it lets you provision it and then it just bombs out, right? Like, which is really bad. Because then people have to go through logs to find out their extension didn't work because they had an uppercase letter. So, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be better just to fail the whole deployment if you could.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we have I'm sorry, spacing out. So we have a priority on this, or someone to assign, or we're good?
We should at least put a priority on it, just so that we know it's been triaged. I just wanted to, yeah, I filed it, yeah, I don't know, maybe important soon. I don't know. Like,
Sure.
I wouldn't say urgent. It's not like things are, but yeah.
But backlog feels like we'll forget about
Yeah,
it.
go ahead. Go ahead, John.
And then I know Willie's not here, but I know Willie did a lot of the extension stuff, so he'd probably be best equipped to fix this.
Okay. Yeah, I think the problem is not unique to just the extensions. I think it's the same for any uppercase things we're putting in the name. But yeah, the tie back, my guess is to the resource group. So it's, I think, beyond extensions, but yeah. Okay.
All right.
Cool. I can move
I
on
wasn't-
then from that
I
one.
wasn't willing to just assign it to Willie when he's not here, but
No, that's, yeah.
we can volunteer him later, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, welcome, Richard. Sorry, we got kind of a light load today, so feel free to interrupt or add something to the agenda. We're just kind of
Yeah.
going through.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks. Yeah, this is actually my first time joining, so kind of still learning the lay of the land and how things work here. So
Awesome. You were
Yeah.
you were at Cappy yesterday, right? Or
yeah, I was at Kappa yesterday, and this is my first time at Cap Z.
cool. Do you want to tell other folks what you do and why you're here? Or
Yeah, sure. Just real quick, I'm a cloud solution architect, focused primarily around Azure. And so been looking to get involved in the Kubernetes community recently and saw that the SIGs are a good way. And so I kind of landed here as a recommendation. I'm not a developer, I'm an architect in terms of my background. Previously worked at Microsoft. So looking, like I said, to kind of lean in where I can based on my experience,
it's great. Yeah. The more the merrier. We all are Microsoft employees currently.
Oh, great. Okay. All right.
But very often we get Adobe, other company customers showing up here. It's just today's a little slow. That's fine. And we're getting a little
Gotcha.
off in the weeds, so hopefully this isn't boring for you, but we had a few
Oh, no.
specific issues we want to discuss.
Gotcha.
All right. David, the next one are these errors that you're running into.
Yeah, I've been getting these for a while, and it's kind of weird because the credential, I'm just using service principal creds, and for my identity, and like the cluster gets provisioned, VNet, the resource group, it all gets provisioned, no problems. But then you start getting these things on loop, and so like, for instance, the extensions that I'm provisioning, I think may be impacted by this. And so and these errors don't go away in ASO. So I'm a little bit at a loss as to, like, what is this an ASO problem? Is, like, I mean, are my credentials wrong somehow? Like, even though they work in other contexts, like, and so I haven't filed an issue on this yet. I could file it on CapZ if we think that's the best place, or possibly ASO. But yeah, this has been, it's been happening for a while, and it's on the latest version of everything on a fresh cluster.
Huh.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, so unless you can see something that's like obviously wrong in the credentials that CapZ is generating for you based on the Azure cluster identity, I imagine this is more of an ASO problem than a CapZ problem. So I guess I would start there with an issue. But even then, I don't know how much they would know about this specific issue. So my 2 cents.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird because, you know, like I said, it says server misbehaving. So you're like, is that really like an auth problem? Like, is it like I'm not having the right creds, or is it like there's an actual communication challenge? Like it's hard to know. So yeah, I could start with ASO. That's fine. Thank you.
Seems like if it's consistent, it's probably a red herring. The server misbehaving sounds like it should be transient, but maybe that's not what it's telling us. Okay. Any other ideas or comments on this problem? I guess we'll enter an issue and cross our fingers. Next thing on the agenda is me. I just wanted to point out that we had a couple patch releases this week with some fixes. Nothing, there's some good fixes in there. And then we've been trying to incorporate the CAPI 170 beta, or we did incorporate it. Everything was green. And then the RC0 came out, where we are actually responsible for turning machine pools on by default. And that broke our unit tests in some ways that were easy to fix. But actually, it looks like the AKS E2E tests are also broken as a result of that change, which I haven't figured out why yet, but I'll look at that today. Unless one of you has an idea why turning machine pool feature on by default might break our AKS E2E tests. It feels like that changes the shape of the cluster somehow, but I don't know. I'll look at it today. But other than that, I don't think there are any issues integrating CAPI. That was the only breaking change that they've had in the release cycle. And just as an FYI, CAP-H, I also made a PR for that, and that's all green. So if and when CAP-H wants to upgrade, it should be ready. All right, that's all we had on the open discussion agenda, unless somebody wants to add something at the last minute. Do we want to try doing milestone review or PR triage? Yeah,
I'd like the milestone. I think it's been a while since we've done that. So
haven't looked at it in a little while.
you can go to the project view, might be a little nicer. Milestone open.
Project. Oh, you mean
the milestone review? Yeah, I think does that go to just milestone versus the?
Which one? This link here? That's where I just was.
Oh, you know what? Yeah.
You get there through the triage thing, and then click on.
Yeah, I'll update.
There
you go. Yeah, I'll update the link in the template so that goes to the milestone open project view. Just so
I see what you meant. Okay.
Yeah. So the one that sticks out, well, there's a couple that I think I'd like to talk about is the Go auto rest thing. So that's up top. Might as well just talk about that.
Yeah, this has been dangling for a while.
That's been dangling for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, this is kind of in my court. So just to update you, it's still in the same status where maybe I haven't updated this. There's some structs. There's a struct we use to hold API endpoints and some other stuff, but it's just essentially for convenience. We don't really use any of the code in Go auto rest. We're using some structs there, but it's in some pretty core code paths, so it didn't look trivial to. So we could replace those structs and a function, I think, with just something of our own, and that would probably be fine. And then we wouldn't have any more Go auto rest. So we're at the point where we're not really using Go auto rest for anything, any functional code. We're just borrowing some structs because they're convenient to pass through in a couple of our functions. So it just will take a day or two of working on it. I just basically haven't prioritized it.
Okay.
Okay. I could reprioritize it, or someone else could pick it up. It seems at this point fairly confined to just those usages.
Okay. Yeah, I think yeah, we could look at all the other things that you have on your plate. I think that the whip for the workload identity is a higher priority, but I think since you're already been pretty ingrained in this code path for a while, like it's for you, a day or two is probably quicker than anyone else, and then the odds of somebody picking that up is probably pretty low. So I
Okay.
think it'd be good.
I can reassign it to myself, with the
Yeah.
caveat I probably won't get to it for another week.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we should have done this a while ago.
Yeah, it's still, depths add up even, and then,
They do.
eventually you get flagged for more things, and even though we're not using the code path, it's still like,
Are we getting
Yeah.
flagged somewhere?
not that I know of, but
We should. That would be good, actually.
Yeah, right.
At this point, but oh well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the US government one, you want to go to that one?
Basically,
Go
we
ahead,
don't
John.
know how to set correct. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, so I think there's still some stuff up in the air here in terms of what, because this kind of depends on ASO, some changes, either changes or not in ASO depending on what they want to do. So I think one of us is going to have to change because right now there's just no good way to map credentials, or at least this specific environment configuration. Like there's not a consistent way to do that in CabZ versus ASO, and we kind of need some way to do that. So I don't know exactly where ASO is at in terms of sussing this out.
Do we have the issue link to? Because I thought we did file an issue with ASO. Is it in here somewhere?
It should be.
And that's not it.
Well, it might be in here. That's your PR. Nope. Maybe higher up. This one.
It's number 3447.
Yeah.
Oh
in
yeah,
Vault.
okay.
Yep.
Oh, it looks like there was yeah, last week. Okay, so this one is just, I think we can just put blocked. So that we don't have to keep coming back to it until that, and maybe just put I can just put a comment in here. Blocked until this is resolved on their side.
Yeah, Matthew
And then I'll
Christopher
put-
touched this last week, so I guess they're aware.
So I'll just put status blocked. Okay,
All right.
cool. Okay, the reconcile queue requests, if we could go to that one, that's, I know, towards the bottom, number 13.
Reconcile. Okay.
Yeah. So I bumped this one up because I think it ties back to the challenges that I was seeing with the deletion stuff. And actually just in the testing with Willie, he was, saying it could take 20-30 minutes or more to delete something, where it actually does delete, but it takes that long. And so I think this, if I understand this issue correctly, that could likely help with the performance of the cleanup process and reconciliation process. Does that sound right, John?
I'm not totally convinced this would fix that issue, but I don't understand that delete issue entirely anyway. So I guess I would like to first determine exactly what's happening in that delete thing, and at least understand that for myself before committing to doing this for that purpose, because I'm not super convinced this will help that.
Yeah, I think that it's a different problem than it not deleting altogether, but for somehow that we couldn't repro that again. But the duration of the cleanup deletion process, that's where I think it may help, right? But I could be wrong, right?
Yeah, I just don't understand the delete issue enough to make any informed
Yeah.
guesses.
Okay. Okay, so do we think this is, if we had to ballpark the amount of work this one would take in and of itself to do?
I mean, the simplest way to do this, it would take like a day.
Okay, okay. Yeah, and I think part of the other thinking here was because in your list that you had of the integrate ASO, this was one of the ones in the common functionality that you listed. And there's only this one in the US government is it. And then per that that root issue, I'm suggesting that we close out the Uber integrate Azure service operator. Once we like at least once we finish that and maybe the US government one if we want to wait that long for that. But I think all the other ones are still good and you have the categorized, which is awesome. But I feel like this issue is gonna just be open for a long time. But yeah. So okay.
We okay with where it is, or you want to try to assign it, or I marked it to do at least?
Yeah, well, I think it's still something I'd like to get done by the milestone, right? I mean, so I think it's still fair game to be in there. We do have a bit of time for that, but yeah, it would be great to get that one included.
Yeah. Although this doesn't mean we have a month. It ought to mean we have more like 2 weeks ideally. We
Well,
don't do.
yeah, you know what we should look at though is what the actual date we released 114, because I know we released early. Was the May 6th exactly like 2 months from 114?
I don't know. I think I just kind of ballparked it when I created the
Yeah,
milestone.
let's take a look. When we-
Closed. So 114 was 3 weeks ago. That's kind of vague. 3 weeks ago. Oh, really? So the JavaScript's just gonna fudge the date. We don't know exactly what
Why don't we
date it
just go
was.
to the release? Just go to the actual release, like the
That's a
actual.
good idea. Last month. Really?
If you hover over the last month, does it give you a tooltip?
Oh, you're so smart. There we go. March 7th.
Okay. So March 7th.
So
Yeah,
March
so
7th.
we're at 1 month today, basically.
Yeah.
And then so yeah, May 2nd, I think you put you put May 7th, yeah, which is the next week. I think that's fair. Yeah, that's actually a smidge more than 2 months. So yeah.
We can pull it back or tweak it if you want.
No, I think it's good. Yeah, I just wanted
throw
the sanity check. I think that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
So yeah, so that one's still, I would say in scope, just somebody at some point needs to pick it up. I don't think I'm not saying we need to assign it, but yeah. This duplicate logic for managed cluster types, is that something, and the ASO service load balancers, is there a reason why we prioritize those for the milestone? Go ahead, John.
I raised my hand for something else, but I don't remember exactly what this is. Oh, this one. Yeah, so this is basically a comment that I end up putting on pretty much any PR that touches the managed cluster webhooks, because the cluster class stuff and the non-cluster class templates need separate validation at this point. And I think I've seen at least one issue that slipped past review. So I think that's why I threw this in the milestone.
All right.
Okay,
Good where it is.
that's fine. Yeah.
To do. I don't know what the difference between no
Sure.
status and
Yeah, that's
to
fine.
do just kind of means we visited it, I think. So
Yeah.
all right. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I was going to vote to kick out that 13th one in the list, the ASO service load balancers. I probably am not going to get to that in the next 4 weeks.
It's fine with me. I mean, I'd much rather, if I had to pick, I'd obviously rather you have the controllers watch ASO resource reconcile thing, so.
All right.
I would just take it off of next, actually,
Oh, yeah.
just take it off altogether, because I wouldn't say we necessarily need to prioritize it at all,
Okay.
I'd say.
I don't think this is updated anyway. All right.
Okay.
I think it's clear now.
Windows stale kubelet log.
Yeah. This isn't major, but I intended to fix it. This would actually be a fix over an image builder. Basically, during the image build process, we leave a couple droppings that are confusing because they look like they're logs, but they were really logs from when we started kubelet or whatever during the build process. So ideally, we would clean those up. And I just, I was not able to build Windows images locally for a long time. Now Azure VPN actually works correctly. So maybe I'm at a point where I could pursue this, but I don't think it's very high priority compared to the several other things I'm working on.
Right now. That's really not.
So
I mean, I would say, yeah, this
maybe
is.
take it off the milestone is probably a realistic choice.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
let's do
I
that.
just. And then it doesn't need triage. It sounds like you've triaged it, right?
Yeah.
So
Actually, I want
you
to
can,
talk about needs triage when we finish up here.
sure.
Oh, it has needs triage, but it also has a priority. So
Yeah,
contradictory.
yeah. Okay.
Anything else here?
Convert CI jobs to use workload identity. It's another one that we keep pushing, and that was
Oh,
one.
wow. And it's still assigned to Ashutosh, so that's not going to happen.
Right. So, I do think it's, I mean, it's meaningful to work, but we got to decide if this is important enough for the milestone versus just continuing to punt it into the next, to the next, to the next.
My take is we're all pretty busy, and I think this will probably get kicked to the next anyway. Also, it's hard to tell which way the wind is blowing, but it feels like recently the push to stop using service principal altogether has died down, and it's okay in a lot of contexts to keep using existing off. Is what I've kind of heard. I don't know what you guys think. So
that's kind of that. I mean, yeah, that's the vibe from that I get. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that if you're using for CI anyway, it's fine. I think.
Right. So the drum,
for
the drumbeat of we need to get off, we need to get everything onto workload identity seems to have died down fairly quickly. So I think it would be okay to punt this again.
Yeah, I would just clear the milestone, and then I would yeah, so we don't go to next and we don't keep doing that.
Okay.
But I would my only thing is I do think we should at least have something testing workload identity in the pipelines. I'm assuming we already have something there. Go ahead, John.
I don't know.
We
I'd have
do.
to look at it. Yeah. Okay.
We do for sure. Yeah, it's in the
Okay.
optional job, so it's not running on every PR, but we still get periodic coverage.
Okay, cool. Yeah. For me, that's all that's important there.
Okay.
I think, and then if this one just stales out, I'm okay with that. I mean, I feel it's a little harsh to just straight up close it right now, but I mean,
Sure.
I don't see it being a high priority. Okay. Perfect. I think, see compute galley image stuff. Do you want to give maybe an update on that one?
The update is I'm still stuck on Windows test, which seems to be because Windows image builds correctly, then we do basically a smoke test where we bring it up in a live cluster, and that cluster never comes up for some reason in the GitHub pipeline. In the ADO pipelines, that all works fine. But the problem that we're seeing over here looks like it's the same problem that our friends over in SIG Windows have run into a couple times. So I'm working on a fix for part of that, and I think it might overlap here. But long story short, I've had a lot of other priorities that all seem like they're higher priority than this. And I know I said that previously, so I haven't really made much progress in the last week or two. So I extended its timeline a little bit, but I still do intend to get it done for the next release. And I know I'm kind of conflating the GitHub switch with maybe publishing through a different mechanism, but that's essentially how I'm doing it too. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, if there's nothing else we want to talk about here, at the CAPI meeting yesterday, Fabrizio was talking about that they haven't had the stale bot operating on any of their stuff in a long time, that nothing's been getting marked as stale, and as a result, they have a giant queue of issues. A lot of the older ones are really not relevant anymore. And he did a little investigation and realized that if there's a priority label on an issue, then the stale bot ignores it. And so this is all what I remember from the meeting. I actually didn't have time to follow up, but I guess this is the mechanism. So I wonder if we were aware of that. I certainly wasn't. And I wonder if that's what we want to happen. And in the meeting, Lubomir and a couple other people were like, I guess that makes sense. But what we expected to happen was, even if we triaged an issue, if it still sat there for 6 months and no one touched it, then the stale bot should come in and say, hey, this looks like it's stale, and start its process. But apparently that's not what happens. Anyway, go ahead, John.
Yeah, so the one recent change that I was aware of was specifically around that like needs triage and triage accepted, those kinds of labels. I think what I remember was if an issue has the triage accepted label, then the stalebot doesn't kick in for a year instead of like 3 months.
Oh, is it just triage accepted? Okay.
That's what I remember, but there might have been something new about the priority labels too. But at least I remember, at least when I was hearing about things, that wasn't going to affect us because we don't automatically add any of the triage labels to issues.
I think you're probably right. Maybe I'm misremembering the details. But and also we've seen that in general our stuff, the stale bot comes in and touches up everything, I think. So I'll go back and look at the
Yeah.
notes from yesterday and make sure that I'm that John's correct and I'm not, which is usually the case. So I assume that's true here. I
Yeah.
just wanted to double check that the stale bot was actually coming in, because at this point, because we think it's useful. And Cappy does too. They just weren't seeing it do very much because I think everything got marked with triage accepted for a while. And so now they've agreed just not to do that. Sorry, go ahead, David.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean, I like not having the triage accepted automatically go there. I feel like default no triage is fine, because sometimes, for instance, the issue that I just filed, like the resource group name not being there, it's like you don't need to really triage it. Like we all kind of agree without a triage that it's something we need to fix.
Yeah.
And it's probably easily reproable, right? So there's none of that needed, right? But I will say that is news to me that if there's a priority label that does not initiate the stale bot that's news, because
don't take my word for it. I may be actually just wrong about that. I'll go follow up and I'll post a note here.
Yeah, that would be really good to know, because if that's the case, I think we need to reconsider our tagging strategy, because I feel like if we just, for instance, our lowest priority is just priority backlog, like that should be fair game for getting closed out, right? Like
Yeah.
priority backlog to us is just like, yeah, we've looked at it and like that makes sense. It's something we could do. So it'd be good to confirm that that's the case for Stalebot.
Yeah, I will do that right after this. I think maybe I was just confused about triage accepted versus priority, but I'll make sure, because we don't want to inadvertently prevent the stale bot from doing its job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool.
All right, that's I guess all we had. Any last minute questions, comments? All right, cool. Thanks for coming, everybody. See you in a week, April 11th.
Thanks, Matt.
Have a good one.
All right,
You
take
bet.
care.
See ya.